Hey guys, it's Mark back here again with you for Jazz Guitar Lessons, and in this episode I want to talk about to transcribe or not to transcribe. And in this video I'm not going to provide a surefire answer, but I will encourage you to think about certain things and bring you perspective on what it is to transcribe, what's the usefulness, what's the desired outcome, and also perhaps alternatives or ways of thinking about transcription that you haven't considered yet. So in a nutshell, when jazz musicians say transcription, what they mean is actually picking up a record. So it could be a vinyl, it could be a cassette tape, back in my days it could be a CD, or it could be now Spotify, and would be to learn something off the record that we want to learn into the grade in our playing. There is an old school approach, definitely, that older players will tell you, you definitely have to transcribe, it's the only way you'll be able to learn. Yeah. Okay, so things have evolved. Now we have YouTube, we have CDs, we have books, we have Berklee College, we have Mark from jazzguitarlessons.net, right? We have these forums, we can ask questions, we have like everything at our fingertips. So I think it used to be that a lot of the information that we would require to become good improvisers and compers would only be available on records. And it's a really valuable, incredible way to get information. Not only the information, but also the phrasing, the inflections, the how to do it, and honestly absorb a lot of the language. Now, just a quick caveat. Before you transcribe anything, and if you've ever done it, I would really weigh the pros and cons. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you're looking to only discover which notes go over what chord for a John Coltrane solo, or a John Scofield solo, or any other John that you want to transcribe from, yeah, for some reason, Johns, there may be other ways to uncover that. What I love about transcription for me is more in the how rather than note choices. So if you're still at a point where you want to figure out if Scofield used the altered scale or the diminished scale, there may be other ways that are more faster, more conducive to results than just doing painstaking transcriptions, right? I'll get back to that in a moment to tell you what I personally got out of transcribing. Also, I would weigh in the pros and cons, meaning what's your end goal? If you're attempting to be an incredible professional improviser and you want to trailblaze, leave a mark, I'm like, well, definitely. Like, you want to sit down with the recordings and know exactly what these guys have done and how they've done it and how well and phrasing and whatever. Super important. For me, I would say that complete transcriptions, I've probably done around 10 or 12 of them, and they were really contrasting in nature. So John Coltrane, John Scofield, yeah, my Johns, Pat Metheny, at least 3 Metheny's, Miles Davis, Chet Baker, Charlie Parker, and Herbie Hancock, Wes Montgomery. Of course, I did some Wes. I did the live at the half note, but I didn't finish the full solo. So there's also that thing to consider. I've done this because I was aspiring professional musician, and it was required while I was studying. Also, there's this whole idea that you can debate like whether you want to learn it, or that you want to write it down. And there's a bunch of ambiguous outcomes. So number one, can I decipher what the guy's doing? And that's sort of ear training. Like, yeah, I can decipher what he's doing, I'm going to play it back. If ear training is your goal, amazing. If learning to play back something with the recording is your goal, then awesome. That's what you'll achieve by doing it. If learning to write music and read music is your goal, then I'd say, well, awesome. But doing transcription is probably a really painstaking, slow, hard process to do. You could do use other avenues for learning to write and read music, just for the record. Case in point would be, my guess would be the Berklee method, the William Levitt. Start at page 1 and just do the whole thing. You'll learn to read, sort of, like a guitarist. You'll read good enough, right? So consider what's your end game with the transcription, if it's worthwhile to get that much effort in a direction where you may have the result of going like, look, Ma, I can play the Pat Metheny solo. And then you're like, good. Now what's next, right? It's good to like walk into someone else's shoes, but even better would be to say, take a small fragment of it, like a lick or something, and then dismantle it completely and go, oh, that's what's up with that line. Like it came from another motif that the player added chromatism around it or whatever. So those findings can only be done in slow motion, which again, there may be other avenues that are more fruitful or require less time to see results than doing with the transcriptions. Also asking yourself, should I write it down? Should I not? Then that's going to be another avenue going, if it takes you 10 times as much time personally, I would weigh in the 80-20 pros and cons, going like, I could either do 10 solos, or I could do just the one if I write it down. I would definitely do the volume of 10 solos. My 2 cents. Biggie for me is that often we get discouraged. We, as in people doing transcriptions, will get discouraged by the sheer volume of work it requires. So a good thing that I did is to set up a milestone. Going, this is Sonny Rollins, he's doing Tenor Madness solo. I just want 24 bars. What's that? It's a 12-bar blues, it's twice, that's it. After I'm done that, then I'll be fine. Typically, as jazz solos, we just have a lot of ambition and we're like, I'm gonna do the whole solo, or even like, I'm gonna transcribe the whole record. No, you're not. Unless you're a prodigy of sort, right? So I've never done a whole record of transcriptions. I've played all songs on a record for sure, like I knew the changes, whatever, but not like learn all the solos. That's pretty intense, right? So giving myself a little bit of a milestone, super important. Also knowing that through repetition and using software, slow down things, Video Surgeon, Song Surgeon, Amazing Slowdowner, Transcribe, whatever, they all work. Pick your match. Like, it's got to be something that works well for you. One thing that I realized is that I was more after the inflection and the tendencies rather than the note choices. So that's a big thing to dismantle for you if you're getting into transcription. As I said much earlier in this episode, if you want to find out formulas like what do I play over these chord changes, there are easier ways to do that. And the main benefit for me was the how. Like, how is it performed? How swinging is this? How laid back is this? How well is it? How fast? How is it picked? Is it like hammer-ons and pulls? Like, that's what I got out of it. Also, I'll give you an example of a phrase that's from a famous record that you'll recognize for sure. Right? That's a bass riff on the Cannonball the Autumn Leaves. And you play that along with the bass. It's G minor 6, right? And you go, is it? Or is it? Is it swinging? How much is it swinging? How do I find out? Put the thing on, open Spotify, CD, whatever, put Spotify on and play along to it and go, oh, that's how much it swings. Is it straight? Nah, it's not fully straight. Is it swinging deeply? It's not a shuffle blues thing. How much? Then that's the thing I picked up from it. Also, while I'm on that topic, you'll all recognize that song, but you may not know exactly what I'm doing, but I'll go like this. Boom. Or something like that, whatever. What's that? It's Miles playing Autumn Leaves. So most of us will wind up with a real book and go, that's the song and I'm learning the melody. Like, what better place to learn how to play a melody than one of the best jazz artists of all time, Miles Davis? How did he come up with that thing? How well did he phrase? How laid back? How does he push or bend? Is this a transcription? Yes, it is. Did I have to write it down like laid back here, push here, whatever? No, I just put Miles on and I just found out how he was playing Autumn Leaves. This is so valuable, and people often think this is not really transcription because I'm not like writing a bunch of 8 notes in a solo, I'm not like analyzing. It's like, no, but the spirit, the stuff of the record, the how, that's not possible to put on paper other than the feel of it, is what I picked up from that. Because I already knew Autumn Leaves when I came across this record. I could play it, I could play the changes, I could improvise on it, but then I'm like, whoa, I'm floored. Why? Because how they did, in French we say interpretation. They performed it in a way that became this timeless record. Man, that's awesome. So I'll leave you with these thoughts. There's more to be gained from transcription than strictly doing like jazz solos written out. And it could be just a part of it with a certain milestone to extract what you want. It can also be that you're after the phrasing of it or smaller motifs, and also transcribing the head, the theme, how the band plays the head in and head out is a valuable exercise, and it's much faster. And again, it's free. You pay for Spotify for $10. And I have to admit, there's what's the song? Is it How Deep Is the Ocean? Or there's a soul standard that I found out was played by Kurt Rosenwinkel. And I didn't know exactly what he was doing, but I'm like, my real book version, my fake book, it's not quite it. So I just made myself a chart. My chart, my real book chart that I made by hand is just a reflection of that recording, which is exactly how the real book was written. It's like this thing as performed by Duke Ellington Orchestra, whatever. So in my mind, I'm like, what a valuable way to use recordings. Instead of spending, I don't know, 6 months learning every line that Kurt did, I just went like, what's his entry point into that song? I think this chord is different from my real book. Let me slow it down and go like, oh no, it's B flat minor. Okay, got it. Right, and then I sort of extracted the generalities from the song. How did he approach it? Yeah, it's this much bar, that's the tempo, that's the melody, sort of like he's ornamenting around it, that's the changes, that's what the bass player is doing, and I made myself a chart. That's probably the best bang for your buck you can have, is to look at just how people approach a song, or even listening to a guy like, in my case, like Ed Bickert. How did he comp? There was a version of Wave played with Paul Desmond. It's like he sits behind it, behind the head, and just like, man, I'll never have all the voicings and all the subtle ways he's doing it, but just the groove, the feel for his comping is something I can extract, so I can more or less generalize. So rather than picking it out note by note, voicing by voicing, rhythm by rhythm, I can just get a general idea. And as I hear more of that and I try to emulate it, I just try. I don't go like, oh, I don't have the right voicing, so I can't. Like, no, just give it a shot. You know. And by the way, this is how I learned to play guitar in my little room. My parents were patient. Metallica, AC/DC, Megadeth, whatever Pat Bennett are, hit me with your best shot, right? And I would just sit there with my little cassette tape thing. I played back and I would play along with it. So I didn't always have all the right notes, but I picked it up by looking at it generally. Broad strokes. So if we do broad strokes with jazz, for sure you carry all your ninths, vocabulary, and all the beautiful stuff, but at the same time you can just get a general idea and move faster than if you were giving yourself the constraint of just transcribing solos. So on that note, I hope this helps. This is just thoughts about transcriptions. Again, my name is Mark from Jazz Guitar Lessons. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you on the free fellowship on the other side. And if you're listening to this in the podcast format, know that you can leave me a review. This really helps the algorithm. And you can also watch the video portion of this on the YouTube channel. Way more free lessons, standards, chord melody, and improv stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Take care.